Our young people, our children are in a war and they don't even know it. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode as I talk about technology, the internet, and young people. My name is Roland, so let's get into it. And like I said, our young people are in a war and they don't even know it. But do we know that they are in a war? And as parents, as teachers, as adults, we do all, and people that work with children, we do all we can to educate our children. We do all that we can to warn them of the dangers and to prepare them for life, to prepare them to thrive in life. But then when it comes to technology, there seems to be this, what can I say, miscommunication or misunderstanding that as adults we don't have a say when it comes to this, that we don't know enough to then speak into their lives. But that is so not true, that we do have something to share and we do need to engage. We do need to start having these conversations with our children. We need to engage in this war because this war is taking them out. Because like I said, on one front, we are there and we are protecting them and we are making sure that they're being safe from all these other dangers. But then when it comes to technology, there's nothing. We are not engaged. We are just leaving them to their own devices and hoping for the best. And that's not how it works. But anyway, there are a few things that we can do as adults to help them. And the first thing is, and I spoke briefly on this, but I want to touch more on it. And this is, we need to stop burying our head in the sand when it comes to the internet and how our kids consume technology. We need to start, to take our heads out of the sand and, like I said, engage them and start taking on this topic. And we do that by our next point, which is educating ourselves first. Not educating them first, but educating ourselves. We need to educate ourselves first on technology, on the internet. Do we know how TikTok runs or Snapchat runs? Or do we know the terms and conditions and the rules around these social sites? Do we know the difference between the internet and social media sites? Do we know what screen time is and passive screen time and active screen time? Do we know all these things? Are we educating ourselves? Or again, we are hoping and praying that these kids will just figure these things out? No, we need to educate ourselves first, because then as we educate ourselves first, then we can, for the next part, start having conversations with our children, start having conversations with our young people about this. Because they do want someone to talk to, even though they may not tell you. Because they too are navigating the space. They too are at first hand. They are experiencing all these things firsthand. And so if it's bullying or whatever it is, and they are trying to figure it out. But remember, they are children. There's only so much that they can understand. And that's why they need us. And we need to take our part by educating ourselves and then having conversations with them. And not speaking at them, but having constructive, challenging conversations with them about why they do what they do. And with that, they can begin to listen to us. And this is so important. And these are the few things that I want to touch on and that I want to leave you with, because like I said, there is a war that is going on and our kids don't even know that is happening. And even sadly to state is, and parents and adults don't even know that there's a war. They are fighting fires on one side and protecting the kids on the other side and telling them not to get into strangers' cars and all these things. But when it comes to technology and the internet, there is nothing. There is no warning. We just give our kids iPads and don't even monitor it. There's no apps to safeguard them from how much time they can spend online. And I want to read you a stat that shook me as well. And it's from the CDC, and it reports that children and teens spend anywhere from 6 to 9 hours on screens a day. Think about that, 6 to 9 hours a day. And think about this. So our kids are at school, right? They spend probably half their day at school. And then they come home. Now, I think that's where you can even start tracking this time. So 6 to 9 hours. If they are not monitored, if they're not held accountable, what are they doing with that time? What are they doing with all that screen time? What are they learning? Do you know what they're doing with that screen time? And this is where it's so important, like I said, that we take our heads out of the sand, where we begin to engage our kids and fight with our kids in this war, and where we begin to teach them the value of what it means to be to know how to use technology, to know how to be on the internet, to know how to talk to people online, to know how to protect themselves online, to know how to be a force for good online, and so much more. There's so much more to talk about, but we need to educate ourselves first. So I've come to the end of this topic. I will be talking more about this in the coming weeks, but I want to give you that understanding, and I cannot wait to talk to you next week. I will see you then. Goodbye.